we are going to get jumping into this right now with Winning the Buyer. I'm expecting this to be a interesting conversation. The winning with seller, winning with buyers conversation in general. We'll see how it goes. So, all right. With that said, let's get into the thick of it. So tonight we're going to go over what buyers are. I saw somebody in the comment about grading contacts. You're going to grade your contacts, you're grading your buyers, you're grading your sellers. Like, where do they fit in that parameters? We're talking about those A buyers today. We're going to get into getting the appointment. Like, how do we get the appointment? Right? What does that even mean? Prepare for your buyer consultation, and then conducting the buyer consultation, and then asking for the signed agreement. This is probably one of the number one challenges that I have dealt with as a coach, as a trainer, that agents go in and typically will have their buyer consultations, or in fact, unfortunately, not enough of us are actually having the buyer consultation. So real quick, what is a buyer consultation to you guys? Like, just again, feel free to come off mute, jump in, raise your hand, drop it in the chat. What is, in simple aspects, what is a buyer consultation to you guys?
You're trying to get them to sign up with you.
Okay. What's involved in the buyer consultation, Penny?
Presentation.
Okay.
What can I do for you?
All right. Anybody else got a different view on it? Not saying you're wrong. Just want to see what we got.
You want to make sure that you
Sorry.
set the expectations of what it's going to take to purchase a home, the steps required,
Okay.
and that way there, and along with finding out exactly what they need, so you can, and then like she said, you really got to sell yourself and say how we're going to get that done. Why am I the person that's going to get it done for you?
I'm intrigued be on the sell yourself thing with you guys. Somebody, you're not wrong, yet are you really selling yourself?
Well, one of the conversations came at other trainings is of the 19,000 real estate agents in Las Vegas, why me?
Okay. And you are selling yourself in that aspect, yet are you selling yourself, or are you selling your value proposition and what services you provide? So is it really about you, or is it about your product of you that you provide?
I'd say it's the knowledge and skills that you bring to the table and what you can do for them based off of the criteria that they're setting forth as what they need and desire.
Okay. So I like both of those. Everyone's right? Nobody's wrong here, because it is selling yourself. Yet what I have found, that if you focus a little too much on the fact you're selling yourself, then it comes off as your buyer consultation or even your listing plan can be more about you than about them. So if you present rather than sell how you're going to solve their problem, help them reach their goal, what processes you have in place, what skills you have, those are the things you're providing. Yes, on the surface, this is why I say yes, on the surface, you're selling yourself. Yet if you focus too much about it, about being you, it can get in the way sometimes. Now, again, everybody's right, because we all have different viewpoints on it. I'm somebody who comes from the aspect of, Brian, I think you just said it, out of 19,000 agents in Las Vegas, why you? So the question I would have for everybody, what sets you apart from everybody else in your area? Because I already know not everybody's from Vegas. So, right, think about that for a minute. Who was here with me 2 weeks ago? Last week I did traveling. I was in Kentucky. 2 weeks ago, we did your value proposition. That's where it all starts. What's your value proposition? Right? We created, what did we create 2 weeks ago? Who remembers? And who went back and completed it or enhanced it? Our mission statement. Who remembers our mission statement? Your mission statement and your value proposition is what you're providing to them. So has anybody shared with you to date in your conversations? It sounds a little harsh in a way, yet it's true. God gave us what? 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we need to keep at least one of them closed, and it's not one of the ears, to be honest with you, right? I learned early on from my coaches and the stuff that I've done in the business is if you ever walk away from an appointment and you just feel exhausted or you feel tired, you're just like, oh my God, that took everything out of me. What am I doing? You talk too much. You didn't listen to them. You didn't ask enough questions. So going back to that Ford comment earlier on in the conversation where we were talking about what you guys have learned, it's about asking the questions and learning more about them in everything that we do, right? So what is an A buyer? What constitutes an A buyer? Right? When we have our clients, when we have our leads, and our leads turn into contacts, I should say, and our contacts become our clients, in order for them to become our clients, we have to have what? An appointment. Well, how do we get that appointment? The right approach to close for the meeting is the only approach, and just ask for it. It's that simple. How many of you all have grown up in life where it's like, well, if you want it, you just got to ask for it, right? Or maybe it's a factor of you don't ask for it, you go and get it one way or the other. That's what you're going to do, right? So let's talk about those A buyers and what that means. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of, you guys, if you guys been with me before, you know, I always give something extra. Whether you're asking for the appointment, whether you are handling objections, whether you are just in conversation with somebody, it comes down to how we say things versus what we say. I can tell you now, it's never what you say. Are you guys familiar with the DISC assessment and what that is? All right, so real quick, short and simple, down and dirty, right? For the Vegas people, down and dirty. You're welcome. Thank you. The DISC assessment of the 4 personality types. You have your high D. I'm a high D, just so you guys know. So I'm just like, give me the facts, give me the details, let's move forward, right? I just want to go. Your high C's are your compliant people. They're the ones that are following the rules. Your high I's are your influencers. They're the people like, everyone has to like me. What do I do to get people to like me? And your S's are, I'm going to draw a blank on S's right now, but your S is a different personality type, right? So no matter what we say to somebody, we're not wrong in what we say. We just say it differently. Think about it like this. Give me a couple states. What we got? We know we got Nevada in here. I know I got California in here. Who else is in here on the Pacific Coast? Colorado, Texas,
Oregon.
Yep. See, Penny came off mute to be proud about that Oregon thing. She's like, Oregon, baby. I'm just saying. Tia, stop laughing at me. So think about accents. Washington, Arizona. Think about accents in different states, right? Bless your little heart for the people in the South, right? In my area, I know what that means. I'm going to say it differently. I'm going to say the way they mean it, right? So we all say things with the same purpose and the same goal of having that conversation, getting or leading more than anything, somebody where we want them to go. How we say it is the most important thing. So I want you guys to take these 2 books down, and I'm going to give you some insight on these 2 books. All right. Who's familiar with Phil Jones? Who's heard of him? One. Saw one hand go up. If you don't know who Phil Jones is, check Phil Jones out. Phil Jones now has a partnership with Keller Williams and is working with Keller Williams in various ways. And Phil has 2 books. The first one is exactly what to say, the magic words for influence and impact. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to ask you right now, please read that one first. Don't go directly into exactly what to say for real estate agents. I read the first one before the real estate agent one came out. And I found that understanding the psychology behind the magic words or the magic phrases helped me better understand how it applied in real estate. So I'm going to give you these two books right now and encourage you to go and get them. You can get them anywhere, Amazon, you can get them on audio, you can get them on in Kindle, you can get them anywhere you want. There are two really good books about using magic words and replacing words that we use now with better words. So I have mine. So here's exactly what to say for real estate agents, the regular ones back there on the shelf. Just to give you an idea of what I'm referring to, I'm going to go to real quick. See, if I show you this, you guys are going to go directly to the one about real estate agents. I really don't want you doing that. However, in the back of the one for real estate agents, he's got a field guide. So if you're dealing with objections or expired listings or for sale by owners or seller appointments or forced registration on your website, he's got a bunch of little shortcuts in here to give you an idea of what and how to say things. So when we're talking, whether it's that A buyer, a B buyer, a C buyer, or whatever, we need to make sure that we know how to communicate to them properly to increase our conversion rate. Okay. Does that make sense? Questions, thoughts on that? Okay. So real quick, you guys already graded contacts. We're going to be, I saw Chris, you got a comment here. Nope. Sorry. What's nope? Sorry. What's nope? Sorry. Oh, don't know Phil Jones. All right. Learn Phil Jones. I promise you, it'll be amazing for you. All right. So A buyers. I'm sure you've seen this graphic before as well from your lead generation and other conversations you guys have had now. So what did you do to get an A qualified buyer? Or what do you do is another question. What do you do to get qualified buyers? Alan, don't compare us to auto salespeople. Come on now. We're not that bad. We're better than that. This is better than that, I promise. I get your point, though. It's about the right words. So what do we do to get A qualified buyers? How do we do them? Or how about this? What is an A qualified buyer? Since we're going to talk about like the qualifications, what is an A qualified buyer?
Someone who has the finances set up.
Okay. I see someone who's ready to go, buying now or real soon, someone who build a relationship, get to know them and ask questions, open houses, ask qualifying questions. Okay. In short, an A buyer or even an A seller is somebody who's ready, willing, and able. They're ready to take action. They're actually able to take that action. And they're qualified to do it, basically. Right? I'm ready, I'm willing, and I'm able to. So I'm qualified, I want to do it, and I'm ready to do it right now. Now, the right now aspect can be 3 to 6 months because there's things that have to be put in place, pre-qualifications. Maybe they're going to move some money around someplace to get their down payments, whatever the case may be. But it's somebody who's ready and willing and able to do it right now. So how would you follow up with an A buyer? What would your follow-up process with an A buyer look like for you guys? What do you think?
Narrow down what they're looking for.
I see weekly calls in the comments. Narrow down. Narrow down would be more in the pre-qualification or the buyer intake. But what am I going to do to follow up? So let's go back. I saw somebody put open house in the chat earlier. So let's say one of you met me at an open house and I'm like, yeah, this isn't my house yet. I got a pre-approval letter. I don't have an agent and I'm ready to buy right now. And I signed into your open house and you have my information. What would that follow-up look like for that A buyer? see, add value and direction on a weekly basis, set appointment for after the open, like that, immediate follow-up. And that's where we're at. What's that follow-up look
Schedule an appointment.
like? Okay. I see weekly stuff in here. Should we do more than weekly or should it stay at weekly? More than weekly. Right. We're going to do daily. You're going to take daily action to bring that value, because I saw value in the comment section. You're going to take daily action to bring that value, and you're going to communicate to them until you get the appointment, right? I'm going to ask at the appointment, at the open house, hey, Cindy, can we get together after my open house and we can chat more about what you're looking for? Because I see you're ready, willing, and able to go. So what are we doing? Let's get together. They're like, well, I'm too busy afterwards, but let's get together later. I'm going to follow up every day, phone, text, email, in every way I can. Now, here's the thing. There was a comment made earlier, Alan, we'll call you out a couple times on this, with comparing us to a used car salesman. All right, you didn't say used, I did. Yet we don't want to come off that way. So we're looking for the appointment and we're looking to build that relationship. I saw the Ford conversation earlier when I asked, what have you guys learned in the past sessions? How else would you describe that follow-up? What's another good way? How would you describe that follow-up in another way that follows the Ford, basically? You're not really talking family, occupation, recreation, dream, but you're using that concept of that. So I see thank you note for attending my open house. If we have an address for them, fair. Ask them to meet in person, discuss in detail for what they're looking, make the conversation personal. Chris, that's where I'm going to. I appreciate it. What else? What community and needs are they looking for? See, I went to public school, Cindy. You said faux, but I said for. See, I read between the lines. Okay, I appreciate you. I think I'm used to your language anyways. You've been with me before. So, but we want to keep that conversation going. And keep in mind, it's not always about the real estate, because what's one of the things we want to learn about these people when we meet them? What's that key word that we want to know? That's it. Motivation. What's their motivation? Right? Why are we looking to buy? Why now? You've been renting for 10 years. You've been renting for 10 months. Whatever it is, you're living in with parents. It doesn't matter. What's the motivation? Why today? Let's talk about that more, right? All right. So we're going to follow up on a regular basis up until we get the appointment. In the dealing with a buyer process, there are 7 steps to the buyer service cycle. The first is leads to appointment. We kind of just went over that. We know what the leads are. We know we're going to follow up with them. We're going to communicate with them on a daily basis or based on what they tell us. So depending on the conversation you have and what you find out, they may not like that daily contact, right? We're not going to please everybody. Some people we might scare away by doing it every day. Other people are going to love it every day. So make sure you're listening. Sometimes it's not so much as listening with our ears as much as it's listening with what they're communicating back, whether they're an email person or a text message person. What words are they using? And am I overdoing it or am I not doing it enough? Do I feel like I'm pulling them away or pushing them away? Like what's going on with that? Then we're going to get into prepare for the buyer consultation. What steps do we take to get ready for a buyer consultation? What is our buyer consultation? How do we hold a buyer consultation? Then we have to find their homes. Then we have to make our offer, negotiate the contract. And then after we get the contract negotiated, do our home inspections, everything like that, we're going to worry about the contract to close. Everything's done. All our contingencies out of the way. Everything's happening. All we're doing now is waiting for our settlement date. So what goes on in that process? And then, of course, the post-close systems that you need to have in place. What is that? What does that even mean to have a post-close system, right? We're not going to get into all of these 7 circles tonight. We're going to get more into them a little bit later. And by the way, I will be back Thursday for the tech side of this, which I will help you learn more about how to do some of the stuff through command. So based on all of this, where we are right now, what thoughts do you guys have, and what's going on with where you're at and what you're thinking and how you're feeling about working with an how about buyers period, not even just a buyer period. I'm back. It's me. It's not Sleeves. Everybody's feeling good. Should always find out their motivation. Sydney, thank you. Motivation is going to be key in any conversation we have with buyers and sellers, because that's what keeps them going, right? Fall is coming. I'd be amiss if I did not say this right now. Fall is coming, and we have one big training thing that comes in fall. Anybody know what that is? It is Bold. Have you guys heard of Bold? We have Bold starting in my area, in my region, next month in October. So if there's a Bold class coming up in your region or in your market center, look into it. It's 1 day a week, isn't it? It is an 8-hour day. If you're able to take it, I know most people that are probably on here are dual careers. Some of you may not be. If you can find a way to take Bold, I would recommend investing in your life and taking Bold. You're going to get more into a lot of this. So the way I always describe Bold, it's like Ignite on steroids. So we're giving you the basics. Bold's going to take you a little bit further, actually a lot further, and put you into what you need to do even further. So if you got Bold coming, check it out. I highly encourage you to. So, all right, moving right along. Let's get into the good stuff. So getting the appointment. Remember, we talked about following up and everything like that. So keys to converting. By the way, conversion is your number one thing. Your number one thing. Tracking your numbers and tracking your data is the best thing you can do for yourself. It ranks up there. If I had to say the number one thing you guys could do for yourselves in your business, I would probably tell you there's 4 things. 1, know your contracts inside and out. Know your buyer agreement, know your sales contract, know your listing agreement, know all your addenda that go with that stuff. Know your paperwork inside and out. Because when it's time to make an offer on a home with your buyer, they want it done today, not next week, because you've already missed that opportunity. So knowing your paperwork is going to be one of the number one things. Yvonne, Bold is normally around $7.99. So check with your region and your market center, because sometimes there's scholarships where you can get it paid for, or a half scholarship or something. So check with your offices if Bold's coming. Number 2 is going to be your scripts or your conversations. We've removed script as the title. It's just conversations. Know what you're going to say and how you're going to talk to people, and be very well aware of your market and what's going on in your market. So you're talking with knowledge and not taking guesses. The other one is going to be, why did I look at the chat? Now I just lost my train of thought. Hold on, I got to go back a slide because now I got to remember what I was going to tell you guys. Speed the lead. Oh, tracking data. Thank you. That put me back on track. So tracking your data on your conversions is the biggest thing. So how many people are you in contact? You can do all of this through command. I think we went over this 2 weeks ago about setting goals, right? So knowing how many leads you need to meet, how many contacts you need to create, and how many appointments you need to set, and how many appointments you need to go on. Tracking that and how you're converting is going to be one of the biggest things you can do, because as I told you guys weeks ago, if I meet a ton of people, which I can meet people all day long, that's an easy thing to do. Getting them into or converting them into an actual contact and then into a piece of business, that's where it gets harder. And that's going to be all about your conversations. So tracking your data so that you can keep all of the other things in line is the biggest thing in the world for you guys. All right. So in order to convert, one of the number one things we have to do is respond right away. We call this speed to lead. If a lead comes in, whether I'm at an open house whether it's a Facebook lead, a Zillow lead, a Realtor.com lead. It doesn't matter where the lead comes from. When I get it, I need to respond as soon as possible. Immediate is best. Excuse me, immediate is best. Within 15 minutes is great, but within the hour is the max. After an hour, that lead's going to start to cool off. Doesn't mean you shouldn't follow up. Please do not think that at all. Follow up no matter what. Yet after an hour, that person may start feeling like, well, I've reached out, nobody called me back. So make sure that you're following up as fast as humanly possible for you in your business and where you're at. I mean, obviously, if I'm driving down the road in the car, I can't always do that, right? Get valid and complete contact information. We're not only in the lead generation business. By the way, lead generation is the number 4 thing I was going to tell you about, making sure you're lead generating every day. But even more so than lead generation, it's lead capture. I can talk to people all day long. If I don't capture their information so I can follow up with them, what have I done? Right? I can buy 100 books, but if I don't read them, what was the point in buying the books? I can talk to 100 people. If I don't get a phone number or an email, why did I talk to these people? Because I can't trust them to call me. So make sure that we're getting complete contact information. If I get a phone number, I want to get on the phone with them or start a text conversation with them. I want to start capturing more information. I want to know what their email is. I want to know where they work. I want to know where they live. I want to know who's in their family. I want as much information as I can. Do it respectfully. Don't just go in and start blasting questions like you're an interrogator. That just gets weird, right? So make sure earlier, forward conversation, bring it up in a good conversation. Number 3, we're going to determine their motivation. We talked about this a little bit already. What's going on? Why are we buying? Where you been living? Well, I own my house. Oh, so you own your house. So I'm assuming you're going to sell your home, or you're going to turn it into an investment property and rent it out. Oh, no, I got to sell it. Okay, great. Well, which one's more important right now, selling it or buying? Most people are going to be, well, I got to sell my house to buy my house. That's great. Can you afford 2 mortgages? Being able to have the conversations and understand the financial aspects is huge when you're having those conversations, and you can feed their motivation. Stay focused on the motivation, right? Who here wants to retire at some point and move to the mountains, the beach, I don't know, the plains in the Midwest, whatever? Who wants to come to my side of the country? Who wants to move out here to the East Coast? Don't shake your head like that. That was, see, now I feel bad. What, Maryland's not good enough for you? I'm sorry, I want to move out. I was just in Kentucky last week with my parents. I'm ready to move to Kentucky, to be honest with you. But find their motivation and stick with it, right? It might be divorce. That's a hard one. You guys ready to have that conversation? What's that look like? That's their motivation. I'm getting divorced. We got to sell the house so I can move, right? It's not too cold. I've cut grass in 85-degree weather on Christmas from time to time. Our weather is just jacked up over here. It can get cold, though, I'm not going to lie. Maybe they're having kids. Maybe they're empty nesters. So really dig into their motivation and keep them focused on their motivation. Set the appointment. Time, date, for as soon as possible. I shouldn't say I have projected, and I'm studying that, and this is one of the data points that you guys should be tracking as well, is if I meet somebody today and they want to buy or sell, it doesn't matter which one it is, what's my conversion rate look like when I set the appointment sooner versus setting it later? Because if I let them wait, have you guys ever heard of the philosophy or the mindset of buyer delay? No? I see a couple no's. I see Chris says yes. Chris, where'd you hear buyer delay at? So there's 2 things that impact the value of a home when it's being sold, and that falls on the seller and on the buyer. One of them is time on market. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with time on market. Yes. The more a home sits on the market, typically the less a buyer is willing to pay for it because they presume there's something wrong, it's undesirable, etc. Well, buyer delay is the same way. Buyer delay comes into play when a buyer goes out, looks at a home, and says, I want to think about it. I just want to think about it. Then they go home and they think about it. And a day or two later, they realize the house is still on the market. And then they start thinking, well, I know other people saw it while I was thinking about it. And nobody else wanted it. So it might not be as worth as much as I think it is. So I'm not going to offer as much money. That buyer delay concept can come into play with you in your appointment. Who does impulse shopping? It's okay. Let's just be honest. It's a safe space. I promise. Thank you, Cindy. It's a safe space. She just, I don't know if y'all saw that up, but very slowly, like a finger went up, 3 fingers went up. Like we all have, okay, maybe it's not impulse shopping. We all have an impulse purchase from time to time. Maybe I don't need that coffee at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but I'm driving past Starbucks and it smells good. I'm going to get it, right? Or Dunkin', if that's your choice. We all do it. Buyers and consumer, let's just say consumers are the same way. So if I don't get that appointment now, their high of being at my open house or at my seminar or the energy we had in the conversation, if I don't get that appointment while that energy is at a high point, what are my odds of converting them into an actual buyer? Does it go up or down the longer it takes me to get the appointment? Yeah, down's more likely, right? Not all the time, right? Don't think that you gotta meet with me today. Just think about yourself. When you're at a height, okay, folks, people, when we go into a store and it's on sale and I don't need it and I hem and haw, should I get it or not? If I can walk out without buying it, what are the odds I go back and buy it? They diminish because I finally said no, right? Time is of the essence. I'm seeing in the chat, right? I typically, if I can walk away from it, I don't follow through with it. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with your buyers and your sellers, because that's the energy. We want them at the highest point that we can get them at, right? So get that appointment set as soon as possible from the time you meet them and they're at their highest peak and at their highest place of joy and happiness and excitement, right? All right, thoughts, questions, comments before we dig in a little bit further. Carol had me excited, like she had something to say. She just popped back in the camera real quick, like she just jumped in. She probably let the dogs out or something. That's typically what I got to do. So, all right. So there's 7 close to appointment tactics. I'm going to give you guys a lot here for you guys. I'm going to go back into Phil Jones and exactly what to say as well. We always want to be closing. Y'all ever heard that term? Always be closing, right? It's kind of a popular, yet I'm not a fan of it, but I got mixed emotions about it. You should always be closing. Always close for the appointment. Always ask. What's the worst they can say if you ask? That's correct. No. The worst I can say is no. Alan, the slide decks, you can see them if you go into Command. You can get the slide deck. Your workbooks, student workbooks follow the slide decks. But if you all want to look at the slide decks, there's going to be slides that I'm going to skip because there's activities that we're not going to actually jump into. I'm just going to get through the content. But if you guys go into Command and go up to the top in the black bar and click on Connect and then hit Browse All Learning and just search Ignite, you can go find any of these Ignite sessions and you can see all the slide decks. So for anybody that wants those, you can do that. And yes, workbook session 14, when the buyers where we're at right now. Thank you. All right, close to the appointment. 7 tactics that we're going to focus on. Show the benefits. show the benefits. In general, people are more likely to go along with something you suggest if you explain the benefit to them. There's two ways you can look at this. I'm going to be completely honest with you. There's two things you can do with this. One, you can make the suggestion, or two, you can make them feel that it was their idea. If you want to really work the powers of conversation, you want to have the conversation where they feel like it was their idea, because they're more likely to do it. And I'm going to go back to this wonderful book right here of exactly what to say, because this is what happens in this. So one of the examples I have here for that is showing the benefits. If spending, so if I ask for the appointment, Brian, I'm going to hit you real quick because I see you right there at the corner of my eye. By the way, if you guys do see me looking around, I have like 6-7 monitors in front of me, and I have something on all of them. That's my ADHD kicking in, and it works perfectly sometimes. So if I ask Brian for the appointment, I would say something like, if spending 30 minutes with me could save you hours of time and thousands of dollars in your home search, would that be a benefit to you? He's nodded, said yes. Great, then let's meet. Now he just committed to having an appointment with me so I can set the appointment. Now I'm going to change the way I say that. And I'm going to use some tactics from good old Phil Jones right here. What if I told you, which sounds better? Let's do this. Let's do an A/B testing right now. Which sounds better? Hey, Brian, this may not be for you, but if spending 30 minutes with me could save you hours of your time and thousands of dollars in your home search, would that make sense? Which one sounds better to you guys? First one or second one? I want to be able to call Phil up and say he's wrong. No, I'm kidding. I see first one. Okay, Phil's wrong. Second one was Phil Jones. I personally like the, hey, it might not be for you. The psychological, by the way, if you read the book, you understand why it actually is the better one. The psychological aspect behind it is telling somebody, hey, this might not be for you. So now I'm telling Brian, hey, this might not be for you. Most of us are going to go, whoa, hold on a minute. Why is it not for me? I want to know why it's not for me. So now they're listening more. So now when I tell them, with spending 30 minutes with me and then me showing you how I can save you hours and thousands of dollars in your home search, would that make sense? Would that benefit you? They're actually going to hear what I say more, because I told them this might not be for them, and we automatically want to listen more. So I see a couple B's in here. You're making them wonder why or why not, right? Well, hold on a minute. Whoa, time out. Why is it not for me, right? There's the take back close as well. I didn't get to adjust all of these for Phil, but if you go through his book, you'll find it. So what's a take back close? Anybody know? So a take back close is, this is a technique. Oops. This is a technique that puts a tempting offer in front of a buyer, then subtly creates a fear that they may not be able to get it. Like, hey, I've enjoyed talking with you, to be honest. I don't know whether I can be of help to you or not. However, I'd be honored if we could meet, find out. How about we meet tomorrow? Somebody said shady. Sydney said, that's shady. That's not shady. Okay, maybe a little bit. James likes this one. So the take back is a very good tactic to have, because it's putting it in front of them saying, hey, it goes back to what I said earlier about, hey, this might not be for you. That's kind of a take back. You could use that at showing the benefits, and you can use that same statement in the take back aspect, to be honest with you, if you want to, right? So what's negative positive close? What do you guys think that is? We describe that as, this is a way of backing into an appointment. So for example, might say something along the way of, would you be offended if I asked if we could meet to go over all of this in a little more detail? I'm free tomorrow. What works for you? So the take back, to go back, the take back is where you're giving them an opportunity and you're kind of taking it away. So I've enjoyed talking with you. To be honest, I don't know whether I can be of help to you or not. However, I'd be honored if we could meet to find out. How about we meet tomorrow? So that's your take back. I promise you, everything that Phil Jones has changes the way we say these exact phrases, and they actually work out a little bit better, just so you know. So, for example, would you be offended? Phil has a open-minded one. Hold on, let me pull it up in the book so I can give you a perfect example of that one, because I forget where it's at in the book. It's, are you open, or how open are you? Oh, is this it? Nope. It's in here someplace, folks. I don't have them bookmarked, but he uses the phrase, are you open, or would you be open? And that fits into this one right now of, hey, would you be open, rather than would you be offended? Would you be open to meeting with me to go over all of this stuff in more detail? I'm free tomorrow. What works for you? Which one sounds better if you use that? Would you be open, or are you open? Because remember, it's always about how we say it versus what we say. And if you notice, I'm giving you a couple different options on this. Yeah. Because how do you feel when you hear the word offended? Well, I'm offended. You told me I'm offended, so now I'm offended, right? Right. Thanks, Chris. That's what I'm like. I'm offended. All right. Give them what they're looking for. Give them what they're looking for. Quickly, the buyer's interest by quickly pique the buyer's interest by giving them what they are looking for. Information on interesting comparable properties. So, for example, yeah, let's meet at my office and I can give you the specific details about the property and let you know what similar properties also are for sale. What time works for you, right? So how we say it to get the appointment is going to dictate whether we get that appointment. What's a trial close? It's not like a court of law. We're going to trial or anything like that. An attempt at it. That's a fair way of putting it. So trial close, test the waters. You should find out whether you and the client genuinely agree. So for example, you might say something like, can you see how receiving a list of all the new homes on the market in your price range would help you in your home search? So I'm giving them, hey, look, with having access, I think Charles is still on here. He's one of my people. Charles just did this, we just had this conversation tonight before I got on the call about, he asked somebody at his open house, can I add you to the monthly neighborhood nurture so you get these updates on what's going on in the market? So what he asked wasn't wrong. Could he have said it in a different way that could have gotten a better response? Again, it's not what we say, it's how we say it. It's not what we ask, it's how we ask it. So we have to stay focused on it as well. Assumptive close. What's an assumptive close?
You assume the sale, like it's going to happen rather than asking for it.
Always be closing. That's right. Assumptive close assumes the close. I do a lot of this in all of my buyer presentations and my listing presentations. When I meet with people, I talk as if they've already signed the paperwork. So I'm always talking. I say, look, when we put your house in the market, when I come over and do this, when I take the pictures, I'm always talking in an assumptive fashion. right? So the same thing with the assumptive close. Assume the close and prevents them from saying no. Now, it doesn't always prevent them from saying no, just so you understand. It doesn't always do that. But maybe it sounds something like this. It sounds like we should meet. I'm available most times this week, so what works best for you? Now, one of the only changes I would put to this, just so you guys know, is I would give dates. As you note in a lot of these examples, is what works best for you. I would actually give them, hey, I'm available tomorrow at 2:00 or Thursday at 5:00. Which one of those works best for you? Give them a definitive time and date so that they can pick one of them. Because if you leave it up to them, you're giving them that leeway of, well, I don't know. You're going to open yourself up to the objections. So actually give them some date and times when you're giving that option out. So tie downs. What's a tie down? Tie downs. Come on, Oregon, Washington, you guys got trucks out there. You're always tying something down in the bed of those trucks. Okay, it's not that. Alan, assumptive close. Let me add you to the nurture email list to keep you informed about the market. Note you didn't ask, and it makes them say no rather than agree. You know, I actually like that, Alan, because that actually puts them in a position where they're like, oh, okay. Nobody wants to be the bad guy. Again, I'm going to ask you guys to think about yourselves and your personality. Be open to all the personality types. I encourage you to go do a disc assessment of yourself, find out what your personality type is. There's plenty of them out there. Oh, he just spoke at family reunion. I'll think of his name. Big, tall guy, always talking, famous motivational speaker. Learn those behavioral traits of people, but that right there, nobody wants to be the bad guy. Think about, yes, Tony Robbins. Thank you very much, Johan. Thank you. Tony Robbins. See, I said big guy. I should have said big teeth and smile too, because he's just got that also. But it was a great speech, a great whole session he did at family reunion, matter of fact. Think about how you feel when you have to tell somebody no. Okay, which one of you is the one that complains about your food every time you go out to eat and you send it back to the kitchen? Who are you? You're out there. I know you are. Okay. Still, that's an exception to the rule. Most of us don't like saying no to somebody. So that assumptive right there of like, hey, I'm going to add you to Neighborhood Nurture. What's the best email I can use for that? Right? They have to give you something rather than just tell you no. So I like how you worded that. That's really well done. People remember Tony's name and I didn't. So a tie down. Tie downs are phrases that ask for confirmation. Expressions like, wouldn't that be great? Or forming questions with, can't you, isn't that, and wouldn't you? Ask for the agreement and get your customer into a pattern of saying yes. I'm going to tell you guys again right now, this right here takes those phrases and makes them a lot better. Because the way you can convert that energy from some of these phrases in here, such as one of the mindset changes, I'm guessing you haven't gotten around to doing this that I asked you to do type situation. There's several of these little things in here. I encourage you to read Phil's book, to be honest with you. But tie downs, we're going to talk about getting them just to say yes and not to object to anything. So, buyer objections to an appointment. I enjoy objections. Who wants to talk objections? Who has buyer leads that they're working with right now and they're still attempting to get the appointment or to get down in front of them? Who wants to come out of chat and have a conversation around it? Objections are one of my favorite things. Ask Charles, he'll tell you. What do we got going on, Yvonne? What are we not getting from them? What's happening?
Can you hear me?
I sure can.
Okay, I wasn't sure if my audio is working because I don't have a camera. So I've got a couple of buyer leads that I'm working on right now. One of them, I've been working on, and I sent them a buyer packet, and then I got like crickets from both of them. I finally heard from one after like 2 weeks, and she told me she decided to hold off because she wants to pay off some debt.
Okay.
And the other one I still haven't heard from. I've called, I've sent text messages, and she has just ghosted me.
All right. So that's more of a ghosting than objections. However, let's focus on the one you do have the objection with. And the objection is, I've decided I want to pay off some bills, right? Are you able to, or were you able to keep that conversation going in any way, shape, or form?
Keep the conversation going as in what?
Just in general, was this a phone call or text message out of curiosity first, or email? How are we talking to that person?
So, I have not spoken to her since then.
Okay. When you did and you got that, hey, I've decided to hold off because I want to pay off some debt, was it by phone, by text, or by email?
Oh, it was phone call.
Okay.
And in fact, I have a coach that I'm working with right now, and I just talked to him about it earlier today. And he told me about an option. So I'm gonna try and see if I can schedule like a meetup with her, like maybe for a lunch or a happy hour or something, and see if I can, take a different approach.
All right. I like that idea. Let's look at this. Can we look at this from two different angles? Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. So let's look at it at angle one. Is you were on the phone with her, and can you be her for me for a minute and like
Sure.
have her energy and her attitude and negativity and positivity and whatever else? So you and I get on the phone and you tell me, hey, Matt, look, I got to put things on hold because I got to pay off some debt. Okay. That's the response you gave me. So I'm going to come back and I'm going to say, well, let me ask you a quick question. What debt are you looking to pay off?
Ooh, that's good. So I think she told me it was like a car, and I don't know what else she told me, but she also said that one of the other reasons that she's waiting for is for a pay raise.
Okay.
She should be getting a pay raise soon.
I love the fact that you want to get a pay raise, and that's going to put you in a really good place when you get that. When it comes to your debt, though, I'm curious, have you spoken to a mortgage lender about the debt that you have?
That's exactly what my coach told me today, and I did not go there. I did not think about asking for that question.
So here's the thing. How do we handle these that take 2
So
days?
I do know that. So here's the thing. I referred her, they say to, when you do referrals, do 3 referrals. So I sent her an email with 3 mortgage lender referrals. She called every single one of them, and they all sent her information to fill out the loan. I don't know the depth of conversation she had with each one, or if they just got her on the phone and said, well, I'll send you information. I don't know what transpired. But she did talk to all 3 of them. All 3 of them sent her information, and then 2 of them started contacting her frequently, and I think she got completely overwhelmed.
Okay.
So I did have a conversation with her, and I said, do not fill out the application for all 3. I said, just pick one, talk to one that you feel most comfortable with, and that is the one that you're going to want to work with.
That's a good response. Here's my recommendation for all of you when it comes to that is, yes, offer 3 options for financing. My preference is my preferred lender. What bank do you bank at? Because you've been there for how long? They know you, at least they should if you go into the bank at all. Go to your bank. And then your third option, find somebody else. Like, you research and find somebody else. So there's your 3. You're meeting the criteria of giving 3 potential referrals. I'm telling you.
I like the way you said that about my preferred lender.
Correct. And here's the thing, though. If it's going to be your preferred lender, make sure they're your preferred lender. So in
Right.
other words, I'm going to call again, Brian, you're in that right. You're just in that one spot. So I'm just using your name. You don't have to play. You don't have to participate in the reindeer games right now. I'm gonna call Brian up and say, hey, Brian, I'm talking to Cindy, and she's looking to buy. Here's what I know. Sounds like she needs some kid gloves. She's a little nervous. This is the important about the pre-qualification of buyers and sellers, is having really deep conversations. Since we're focusing on buyers, I'm going to stay in that aspect. So when we meet these buyers, we need to get deep in their business. I'm sure many of you are fearful about having financial conversations, yet you need to have the financial conversations. How much do you make a year? How long have you had the job? What debt do you have? Look, it's not my job to pre-approve you. I just need to know where you're at so that I can even tell you if it's worth you talking to a mortgage lender or not. We have to understand it enough to have that conversation. So I'm going to call my lender up, Brian, and say, hey, I've spoken to Cindy and Cindy's interested in buying. I've given her you, and I've gotten permission for you to call her. Can you please just call her and have a conversation with her? Let me rephrase that. Your preferred lender is going to call and have a conversation and not force an application, because that lender needs to have those same conversations because they're the financial person, and just go, you know what? It sounds like you should fill out an application. Let me run everything I need to run, and then we can sit down and talk hard numbers. But based on what you're telling me, I think we can get you, I think we can do something, right? Let them have that conversation. Because if you do that, you put that person in a different mindset. If you're giving 3 mortgage lenders and you're not talking to any of the lenders are going to assume, I'm assuming, most lenders are going to assume that you've already had certain conversations and these people are ready to go. And that's what they're going to act as, which then can be off-putting to that potential buyer. So having somebody that can actually have those conversations is going to be key with your preferred lenders. I'm going to encourage all of you at this point to make sure that you are talking to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lenders. They will take you to lunch. They will take you for drinks. They will take you for coffee. They will take you out and sit down and have a conversation with you. Be open and be honest and go, I'm new. I have no idea what I'm doing. Tell me what I need to know to get people to talk to you to get approved. You're going to find the ones that are actually going to want to spend time with you, and you're going to create relationships with them. And then you're going to be able to send those people to those people that you have relationships with. Make sense?
Very helpful. Thank you.
All right, let's go into your scenario number 2. Your scenario number 2 is you want to follow up with her and set a coffee appointment, lunch appointment, or something like that. You have 2 avenues you can go down with that. One, yes, you can call and say, hey, let's get coffee. Nope, I just want to sit down and talk with you. You know, we had a good conversation about, you know, your kids, your husband, whatever that personal information, right? The Ford script, whatever you learned about that person. I just want to catch up. I know you're waiting. I'm not asking you to go buy a house. I just want to sit down and have a conversation. You seem like a really nice person. Can we get coffee? You can do that. Depending on how they felt, there may not be as open to that. However, if you are hosting and you got to check in your areas, because I don't know if everybody can or will do this. We do twilight happy hour open houses, to where I can host an open house. I partner up with a lender or title company or something like that, and we'll have wine and beer and cheese and little sandwiches, and people that stop by in the evening at 5 to 7, 6 to 8 time frame, and do twilight open houses. If it's one that you think fits her needs, invite her to it. Invite her to an event that's not, I don't want to use the word threatening, but not forceful is more of a right word. Something that's a little bit more casual. A seminar. How many of you guys have talked about or have been trained on how to host buyer seminars? If you're not, I'm going to encourage you to learn how to do those. Go back to your coaches, go back to your tech trainers, go back to your leadership teams and go, I want to do seminars. What can I do and how can I do it? Because seminars are a great way to get in front of people. And it's a great way to get in front of lenders, because you partner with a lender and the lender's there. They're in the mood at the end of the seminar. They're like, I'm really curious. Well, great. My lender's sitting right there. Go sit down and talk to them. So you have two routes you can go, the direct route or the indirect route about inviting her to an event. Does that make sense?
Yes, so this is actually a young lady that I already know. I know her mother really well. We used to travel together. She
Well, yell
is
at mom
in
then.
She's in her early 20s, and we actually used to travel together as couples, and she always brought her daughter along. Her daughter is now in her 20s, and so that's exactly what I'm doing is I'm going to try and do like probably a happy hour or early dinner, or maybe a weekend with her and her mom.
There
So
you go.
just kind of do a social.
That's it. That's it. Keep it social. This is the one thing a lot of agents lose track of. There's a balance. We go too heavy on the sales, going back to Alan's comment earlier about car salesmen, car salespersons, I should say. And then we get too friendly. There's a fine line between balancing the friend and the relationship and the personal aspects and the business side of it. And each one of us has a different line. Our lines vary. And you need to find your line and know how to walk that line so that you're able to have that enough of a personal relationship that you build that trust and that rapport, yet you're still business focused that you're going to get them where they need to go. Because deep down, you know, she wants to buy a house. She's just at 20 some years old. She's probably just flat out scared. So making sure that we're approaching somebody that way, that, hey, I get it. I listen, I don't want you to buy a house. That's it. I don't want you to buy a house. What I want to do is I want to educate you on the process. When you're ready, you know what to do. Can we do that?
I like that.
Because she may or may not be ready at this point, right? In the chat, how do we handle leads that take 2+ days to respond? You know, you roll with the punches. You're going to find leads that when you get them, you're going to reach out and they're just never going to respond. Put them on some monthly drip campaign, smart plan. If you got their email, if not, text them once a month for 3 to 6 months, then back it off to every 2 months, and then eventually just forget about them. It's kind of an unpopular opinion, yet if they're really not talking to you, then they were really either just a tire kicker, somebody that really didn't have any interest, and they're going to be a waste of your time and your energy. Focus on the people that are responding to you. Don't forget those people though, because that person, like we just talked about in this scenario, they could just be young. They could just be never owned a home. They could be renting for 40 years for all we know. It could be somebody who's lived in their home for 40 years and their spouse passed away and they have no idea what to do next. So you don't want to forget about them completely. You want to make efforts for 3 to 6 months and then make a decision if you're going to keep putting energy into it. But if they're not responding to you, we're about making money. At the end of the day, we're about making money. We have a job to do because we're not doing this just for the fun of it. It can be fun. It absolutely is a blast to do this business. Yeah, we also got to make money at it. So you have to find that balance for you on what that's going to look like in your business model, because we're all independent contractors. Fair? Questions, thoughts, feedback? All right. Let's see. Ask questions when you're dealing with objections. Always ask questions. What, when, where, why, how, who, all of that stuff. Why, scratch that. Why is not one of your good ones to ask, because why can be defensive. Well, why aren't you going to buy a house? Right? So leave the why out of it, but you can ask the other ones. Acknowledge and say that you certainly understand. So be empathetic and just be, look, I get it. Well, like we just did, right? I get it. You're young. You don't know. You're fearful. So let's build a plan. You ain't got to do it today. Nobody said you got to do it today. You want to pay off that car? Go pay off that car. You want to wait till that raise comes out so you got some more money? Great. You know, here's the question. Is it worth waiting? How far out is that raise? And what are the interest rates today? And what can they be tomorrow? So what if you got a low interest rate now, got a raise, was more comfortable, and then rates dropped again and you refinance? You'd even be better off. So waiting may not be the best option, but let's look at your scenario and let's talk to the lender and find out what works best. We're going to do what's comfortable for you. Identify the real issue. We just talked about it. What's the real issue? Is it fear? Is it I don't have the money for down payment? Well, if you don't have money for down payment, that's an easy fix. There's plenty of programs out there, right? Make an educated, comfortable decision. That's our job. We're to educate. We forget in this industry, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we forget to educate the consumer. We're too busy. Alan, I'm bring you up again. I told you I was going to pick on you. We're too busy trying to sell the car rather than focus on our job is to educate the consumer. The more you educate them, the more confident they're going to be, the more they're going to trust you, and the more going to do stuff with you. What's the question on money for closing? Is that just the question, or do you want to go deeper with it?
So I had another client earlier this summer who was also a buyer, and she really wants to buy, but she said she can't afford it. I told her about first-time home buyer programs and that would help with her down payment, but she is still concerned about additional closing costs that would come out of her pocket, like the inspection and the appraisal.
So this is where having the conversation where we are right now. We haven't brought this up, but I'm going to bring it up right now because it's an appropriate time. We're at a point in this industry now with the recent NAR settlements. Everybody's familiar with that, right? Everybody knows what that is. How fearful are you about that settlement right now and the changes? Good. Nobody is. That's the way you should be. Good. Here's the thing. It's more important now for them to speak with the lender. I'm not the one giving you the money. It's not me, right? So let's talk with the lender. They're going to go through all your financials. They're going to go over your income. They're going to go over your debt to income ratio. They're going to go over how much money you got in the bank. How much money do you need to close, right? Yvonne, what area are you in? What's your price point for like a first-time home buyer?
So I'm in Colorado, and it really kind of depends if they're looking for a condo, townhome, or house. The houses are pretty much going for about 500,000. The condos are probably between 300,000 and 400,000. Some actually even go for close to 500,000.
So do we have that? So that's your price point. So
and I know that like this woman I was just talking to you about, she wants to be in a house, so she's definitely looking at about roughly $500,000 for a house.
So let's get down to, we'll go back to, change this back. We're going to go back to identify the real issue. The real issue here would be, do you want a house or do you want a place that you own? Because you've never owned a home before. Most people start out in a townhouse or a condo. So why don't we do this? What's going to make you more financially stable? Dumping all your money that you're having fears and second guesses about right now into a $550,000, $600,000 single family home? Or would it make more sense for us to find you a nice condo at a lower price point, something more in your price range that you can build equity in? The value will go up, and maybe in 3 to 5 years, we'll sell it. We'll have the cash out from that to put down on that single family home. You'll be in a better financial situation, whether it be a raise, a new job, whatever the case may be, paying off debt. Then in that 3 to 5 or maybe 5 to 7, we'll get you out of that condo or that townhouse and put you in the single family. Right?
Well, one of the things that she's told me is they have dogs that are large, and then she has a coworker that just got into a house with an option lease to buy, and so now I think she's trying to do something like that.
Learn what that is in your area in general. For those that don't know what that is, in short, and every area and every state's got different rules around it, but in short, you rent a house, you pay over the rent, the overage in the rent goes to the owner, and that gets saved up over a period of time. They use it as down payment to buy the house. So it's a, yes, rent to own, lease to own, same difference. If you don't know what it is, learn what it is, because that could be an option and you can make that happen. You actually can work that deal if you want to get guidance and get support, but we can do things like that as well. But if that's her route, then she also has to understand the risks. So I'm one who does not encourage a buyer, particularly a first-time home buyer, to do a rent to own, because if they default in my area, they don't get that money back. All that money goes to the seller. So whatever they put into it with an expectation of that being their down payment, helping buy that house, they're renting, period. And if they default, they don't get any of that money back. So the risk is heavier on the buy side than the seller side. So it's a good thing if the person fully understands it and is qualified for it and they know what they're getting into. But if they don't, it's not always the best way to go. So you need to learn more about that so you can educate her on that, or find somebody to help educate her on that would be my suggestion. So
Okay,
But-
thank you.
that gets back into identifying the real issues here, right? What are we talking about? And if you're going to finagle and barter for a rent to own that has potential liabilities that could cost you more in the long run, is it the right time for you to buy? Or should you wait a little while longer, right? This is number 4, offer a solution. If we don't ask enough questions, we can't offer the solution. This also goes back into, we need to know the industry and what we're doing at like in a very high level. I know that can sound fearful. It's honestly not that hard. You attend every training you can. One of the things I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I was at another brokerage before I came to KW. I've been at KW now for almost 8 years, I guess. And I've been in a leadership role pretty much since I got here. And one thing I can tell you is at KW, nobody's afraid to share information. Go ask everybody. Go to the biggest team leader you got for the biggest team you got in your market center and call them up and ask them. They'll tell you. A lot of the other brokerages that I've been in and that I've had time to spend having conversation with agents, nobody wants to share information. We are a completely open book and we help everybody. So that's one of the big positives for us. Take advantage of it and learn it as much as you can. Okay. Number 5, urgent agreement. Basically, what we're doing here is we really just want to come to some type of agreement. We want to find out, am I going to help you? Am I not going to help you? Like I said earlier, and there's the scenario we've been talking about, let's build a plan around what's going to be best for you. And let's have that conversation. And then let's go get all the answers. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I've been in the business now for, what year is this? 10 years. And I don't know it all. I'm still learning things. I learn something new every day. I teach classes on a regular basis and I get questions and I have to sit there and I have to look at people and go, huh, that's a really good question. I'm curious to know what the answer is. And I'm on the hunt to find the answer. And that's the way we need to be. So, all right. Thoughts, takeaways, ahas, joy, pain, sorrow, laughter, tears. What do you guys got for me? Helpful, beneficial? I can ask in multiple ways. I got a smirk out of Jenna. I did something right. She's going to turn the camera off now. See, this is why people don't like being on camera with me.
I really like the way you have to present it as what's the benefit to them, not to you. You know, instead of like said, hey, can I do your market nurture? Or it's like, you can see how getting this information would be helpful, don't you? So it's making them do it for them, not for you.
Our job is to educate. We have a fiduciary responsibility, and we cannot put our needs above those of our clients. And if you can articulate that in your way, we all have a different way of communicating and speaking. If you can communicate that in a way that makes sense and makes that connection, then you're doing it right. You're going to trial and error. You're going to fail on occasions. We're never going to make everybody happy. Go into it now knowing I'm not going to make everybody happy, right? And just have the conversation. The biggest thing that you can do, the best thing you can do is just have a conversation. Ask the questions. We have a philosophy of going 3 layers deep. Have you guys ever heard 3 layers deep before? I see a nod of a yes. I see blank stares, all the above. So 3 layers deep is asking a question. You never get the truth when you ask the first question. Who's experienced that? I ask one question, I'm going to get a yes or no or a maybe, and that's not going to be the full story that's told. So I need to ask another question on top of that. And then I'm going to get an answer from that. Then I'm going to ask another question. Sometimes you got to go 5 or 6 questions deep before you actually uncover, going back to the previous slide, right? Uncovering what's the real issue, identifying what the real issue is. I can't give you a solution until I know what the real issue is. And sometimes just being that direct and that honest of, look, I want to help you. I really do. I want to help you. You're right. People are guarded, Cindy. And we are the key masters of that gate, and learning how to communicate in the right way. This is just one of the ways you can do it. There's plenty of others out there. Learning how to communicate in the right way is what's going to get you to get through that guard and take down that wall. It's just that simple. All right, so let's prepare for our buyer consultation, and then we're going to talk about how to conduct that buyer consultation, and then we're going to get the agreement signed. We can do this lickety split and very easily, just so you know. All right, so buyer consultation preparation checklist. What do we need in our buyer consultation, right? First and foremost, when we set the appointment, we got to confirm the appointment. We want to confirm the location. We want to make sure that all decision makers are there. I'll tell you guys, to stand up and tell the truth, one of the hardest things for people to do. You know why? I love that. I'm going to get sidetracked for 1 second. I promise it'll only be 1 second. It is so much easier to lie than tell the truth, because the truth does what? I think I just saw somebody say hurts. I think that's what I just saw. Like that well, yeah, it makes you vulnerable. Your job as a real estate professional is to be vulnerable, because the more vulnerable you are, the more vulnerable your people are going to be. I've been on listing appointments where people have asked me, and this was years ago, like how long I've been in the business. I've never hesitated going 2 years, 3 years, whatever the case may be. Because being able to say that and say it with confidence and then back it up with the support I have with what I've got at my brokerage and the people around me is the key thing. Cindy, you were asked that the other day. How'd you handle it? Yeah, I called you out.
There we go. I told them the truth, that I was new at it,
And what happened?
and they still signed up. I got the listing.
So sidetrack real quick. Again, I promise, but it's a great story. So I had an option to sell a house. Well, let's put it like that. I had an option to do, not the option. I had the ability to do 3 transactions or fix a marriage. Got a phone call from a guy, called up. He said, I'm selling this house and I'm interviewing 3 agents. Do you want to be one of them? I went, yes, sir, I do. I was the third one to show up. The other 2 agents had been there before me. I got to the house back in the day, long time ago at KW in our MAPS coaching. We did a daily huddle or daily power up every day. And Diana Kokoska was our person that did it. We watched the video and I ran that as a coach. And I went to this house going, I'm doing a Diana Kokoska listing appointment. I'm going to knock on that door and I'm going to go. We had an appointment at 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. May I come in? I'm going to tell you here and now, where are my animal people? Who's got animals? Who's got cats? Okay, the cat people are like this better than dog people. I'm both. I'm more of a dog person. My labs are running around here someplace. Shockingly quiet. I knocked on that door. And as I knocked on that door, what came up on the porch next to me? A cat. What did I do? I went, oh, kitty. I'm bending down trying to talk to the cat as the door is being opened. However, I've got almost 20 years in the fire service, so I'm very in some law enforcement. I've got very situational awareness and I read people. That door opened up and I read the room right away. There was tension. There were problems. The wife was in charge. The husband had no idea what's going on, although he wanted to set the appointment. I went in. I didn't do anything I was supposed to do. I let them lead and we ended up in the kitchen talking. One of the questions was how long I've been in the business. And I asked them, I'm like, what's the urgency to sell? He went, we're getting divorced. And it's amicable. And then I heard I thought somebody stepped on a mouse. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the wife's face and body language change and went, nope, that was her that made that noise. It's not as kosher as he's saying it is. So I had the conversation. I talked to the husband. I later got the wife on the phone. I talked to her and she was freaking out. She didn't know where she was going to go. I walked her through and I said, listen, do you have family? Go live with your sister. It'll be fine. Let's get you through this part. We'll sell this house and then we'll find you what you want. She goes, I'm buying my house with you. I'm like, awesome. Got done. I was guesstimating somewhere around $1.5 million in volume between 3 potential transactions. A couple days later, going back to people that don't respond, a couple days later, the husband finally called me up and he's like, I don't know what to do. I said, listen, I said, what's the wife's email? I go, I'm going to send this listing agreement to you guys electronically to sign. One of two things is going to happen. One, everyone's going to sign it. This is real. This is happening. You're selling your house, getting divorced. Two, reality is going to hit and you guys are going to start talking. Because his complaint was, I don't even know what's going on. She's the one who wants to divorce. I don't even know why she's mad at me. I sent that listing agreement out, and guess what? They started talking. He called me back a couple of days later. He goes, Matt, we're going to put everything on hold because she's actually talking to me. I went, well, there you go. That was almost 8 years ago. They're still in that house as far as I know. So marriage fixed. Look, but I made it about them and not about me. That's what it comes down to. If you can do that and keep that mindset, you will succeed at high levels, plain and simple. So still missed the cat. I was ready to play with the cat, but I didn't get enough time because they came through the door. All right, moving on. Buyer consultation, confirm the appointment, make sure all the decision makers are there. Another quick story. I have an agent a couple years ago that was involved in a transaction. 2 people were selling and they got to title did a title search and found out there was a third party on the title. Group of friends apparently bought this house, but the agent didn't do enough research to find out that there was a third person. Luckily, that person who was out of state didn't care, signed everything, they were able to move forward with the sale of the house. But making sure that all decision makers are there is important. Complete your buyer guides. If you don't have one, get with your coach, get with your Market Center tech trainer. If you don't have a Market Center tech trainer, get with your regional tech trainer. My California people, Zach, who's got Zach Younger as a regional tech trainer? If you're my California people that are on here, go yell at Zach just for the fun of it. Okay. Command has buyer consultations. They've got buyer guides and they're like 30 some pages long. They're all editable. You can do whatever you want with them. Figure out what works best. They're like 80% done. All you got to go in is tweak it a little bit. So get your buyer guides completed. Prepare for your meeting space. So where are you going to meet your buyers at? Are you meeting at a coffee shop? Are you meeting at the office? Make sure you're meeting your buyers, particularly for the first time, safety-wise. Meet them someplace public. With the new settlement aspects, you can't meet them at the house anyways because you need that buyer agreement to show that house. So meet them at the coffee shop, meet them someplace, meet them at Dunkin', I don't care. Meet them someplace, and please have an actual buyer consultation with people. Please sit down and have that conversation. It is so important to dig deep in that consultation because that's what's going to help you get the agreement signed as well. Lead sheets. You should have lead sheets in your student manuals of how to take lead information, which is basically getting all their information. I use right now, don't use it right now, but with the team we're forming, we're using Jot forms to send forms out to buyers and sellers for them to fill information out. They can do it electronically. We're also using, look, see, Charles is giving me crap right now for anybody that's paying attention to the chat because he's like, I don't have a tech trainer anymore. Mine quit. Yes, I did, Charles. I did quit. I'm not the tech trainer anymore. Thanks for calling me out about that. All right, I didn't quit. I stepped down. It's completely different. Lead sheets are important. Gather as much information as you can. It kind of, number 6 and number 1 go hand in hand. I mean, contact information feeds into 1 and 2. So make sure you're getting all their contact information. You know what's going on. 10 service areas to a buyer of the buyer value proposition. So what are you offering to them? You need to do a needs analysis. We've talked about that in length. We just haven't called it a needs analysis. Your needs analysis is finding out what's important to them. Their motivation, their purpose, their financials, what is going on in their life that makes them the need to move or their desire to move. Pre-qualifications or pre-approvals. This is where we're connecting with our preferred lenders. Are they pre-qualified or pre-approved? They are two different qualifications. Make sure you're talking to your lenders to find out which ones they're doing. You can even go deeper with that, is that you can go into pre-underwriting. Some lenders will take them as far as taking them into underwriting, where pretty much all they need is a house and a contract, and they can close in like 10 days. So make sure you're talking to lenders, find out what programs they have available. So that's another thing you guys can do, is make sure you're talking to lenders and find out what different programs are out there. As I mentioned, I've got first responder time. So there are special programs for first responders, nurses, teachers, doctors, military, police, fire. So if you've got people in your circle that are that way, present those programs to them. It might benefit them to buy under those programs. There's plenty of different things out there. What does a first-time home buyer program look like? Yvonne, going back to you, FHA. FHA, you can do as little as 3.5% down. So your person's freaking out about, I don't have the money for closing. They might, if they go FHA. If they're military, all they need is closing costs. They don't need a down payment. So whatever money they got, it's 100% financing. USDA is one that a lot of people don't think about. If you don't know what USDA is, it's an agricultural loan. It's 100% financing, very similar to your VA loans. You will need closing costs and other things. There is a website, you plug in an address and it tells you if it's USDA eligible or not. Lenders will tell you if it's good or bad for that person. Keep in mind, there's income qualifications and things like that, but that's not for you to monitor. It's for you to know and have some understanding so you can encourage them to talk to the lenders. Neighborhood information. What's important to them about the community they're looking at. More than just, doctors, physician loans. Yeah, you can do doctors on those first responder programs too. So it's like healthcare workers and stuff. So it's doctors, nurses. I almost said lawyers, but screw them. We don't worry about it. They're just a mess. They're the ones that have got us where we're at right now, right? What's important about the neighborhood? What's important about their home search? Like, what are they looking for in the home? Are they looking for 3 bedrooms, 2 bath? Are they looking for a condo, townhouse, single family? What's, again, back to the neighborhoods. Is it schools that are close? Is it the commuting location? So getting into detail about what's important to them is helps in that value proposition you're bringing to them and knowing what questions to ask. Are you guys familiar with or have had any experience with NAR RPR, Realtor Property Resource website? NAR offers a service, a website, a platform, whatever you want to call it. That's called, you go to narrpr.com and you can pull neighborhood stats, trends. You can do all kinds of stuff on this site. If you guys are not aware about it, ask about it in your market centers. If nobody knows what it is, get in touch with your leadership. Tell them to call me because I'm a certified trainer for RPR. So it's got some good resources to it, even though most of us aren't fans of NAR right now. Making offers, your value propositions in your offers. So like I mentioned earlier, knowing your contract inside and out is super important, because when your buyer comes to you and says, hey, Jamie, I want to make an offer on this house, they expect you to get it done like now, not tomorrow, not Friday, not next Tuesday, now. Everybody's different. We all have different jurisdictional documents. Some of us have 50-page contracts by the time we're done, like I think most of us almost do. So being able to complete an offer in an hour or less is super important so that you can get it out to your client, get it signed, and get it submitted. Because sometimes the first one in wins. Other times it's the best terms and offer that win. So speed to lead, speed to offer as well. Negotiating. Know how to negotiate. Some of your negotiations are going to be up front. So your negotiations start with your buyer in the sense of, what do you want to offer? What's your max? What's your minimum? Are you doing an inspection? Are you not doing an inspection? What are the pros and cons about that? So you first got to negotiate with your client before you can put the offer together. Then once you put the offer together, I got to be able to negotiate with the other side and go, this is what's important. This is what's important to my client, what's important to your client, and where can we meet in the middle, right? Don't let a deal fall apart over $5,000, right? A seller can give up 25 and a buyer can give up 25. We just did it, right? There's always a solution to that, to those negotiations. Vendor coordination. You are the captain of the team. You need to be in contact with your inspectors, your title, your lender, your home warranty, your not necessarily your homeowners insurance. Your client's going to do that, but you can always recommend, hey, call Jake from State Farm. They do great. I use them. Like whatever that scenario is. You need to make sure all your vendors are coordinated during the transaction so nothing falls through the loops at all. Pre-close preparation. What does that mean? Pretty much, what are we going to do to get closed? I got to make sure that the lender's giving me my clear to close. I got to make sure title's provided with my closing documents and I've reviewed it with my client. I got to make sure that closing disclosure is going out to my buyer and said, hey, that's it, getting all the information for closing. What are we ready to go? Is there anything missing? I do not want to show up Thursday morning at 10 o'clock ready to sign documents just to have the title company or the lender go, oh, hey, by the way, I forgot we need this, right? I'm not doing that. So make sure you're getting everything done before closing. Then schedule your closing. Make sure you show up to closing, please. You'd be surprised how many agents in my area do not show up to closings. How does that client feel when you don't show up to a closing? They're nothing more than a number. They're a paycheck, right? That's it. Have some type of checklist inside of Command in your opportunities. You can create checklists for all of this. Post-closing. What does your post-closing look like? What is post-closing to you guys? What does that mean? After, follow-up. That's right. What am I doing with this person after I'm done? Am I going to stop talking to them because I'm done and I got paid? Or am I going to keep my relationship going so I can get referrals, I can get my reviews? That's it. Keeping the relationship. What does my post-closing look like? In your buyer guides, what's going to be in your buyer guide? Here's pretty much what's in the buyer guide that is inside of Command. Okay. You're going to have a welcome letter, timelines for the buying process, the home search process. Oh, by the way, make sure you're, if I could speak clearly, make sure you're sharing your consumer app. Does everybody have the consumer app and knows what the consumer app is? If not, we might have to cover that on Thursday when we do the tech stuff. I'll probably do it anyways. Max, social media testing.
I do have a question about that because we have the MLS app that we share, and then now that I'm with Keller, what's the difference really of the two?
So the biggest difference between the two, and I will go over it Thursday when I do the tech stuff. The biggest difference is anything that consumer does on your KW agent app or on your agent website, all that information is tracked inside their timeline of their contact card. So every time I open, that's correct, it communicates with Command. Every time I open a contact, I can look in their timeline and I can see the properties they're looking at. All they got to do is click on the property. They don't have to submit it to me. They don't have to do anything. Most of your MLS apps don't have that ability. You know they're using the app maybe, but you don't get to see what they're doing. By the way, we are integrating AI even further into Command. I'm still a labs advisor, so I get a lot of early access, and I haven't confirmed if this has been fully released yet or if it's just something I have early access to. I opened up one of my contacts. Well, I use both my dogs. So both my dogs are in my platform as test pilots. So I go in there and I use them when I do things. So anytime I'm in the consumer app, it's like Tucker James is doing it. So I go to Tucker and I open it up. I can see every property he's looked at. I can see every neighborhood he's looked at. He can send me a request to view a home. He can send me a request for more details on a home. And it all comes directly through Command, and you get notified through Command Mobile and on the Command desktop. So they don't have to tell me they're looking as much as I can just open their timeline and see that they're looking. You don't get that in the MLS apps that I know of. So that's one of the biggest factors right there. It's your KW consumer app. So when you go into your Play Store or your App Store, the red box with the white letters is Command Mobile. The white box with the red letters is the consumer app. I'm going to tell you now, and I'll tell you again later, please do not sign into the consumer app as you. Create fake people into your account to use for testing purposes. Again, if you have pets, use them. Use their name. That way, when you're in that app, you can tell yourself, I am the consumer. I'm Fluffy, and I'm looking at a new cat house. I'm Snoopy, and I need a new flying dog house. Whatever you got to do for yourself, make sure you make that connection. Because in that consumer app, you get to see the consumer's name and your name because you want to make sure you're connected as the agent. We'll go over more details than that on Thursday. I was going to say something else about that. Yes, just make sure you're doing that. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Every one of us has at least 5 emails. So assign one of the emails you don't use a lot to one of your fake people so you can do test emails with the technology. All right. What's your MLS app, right? Where are you at? Nevada. What's the app in Nevada, Brian? The MLS app.
Let me see. It's
Are you guys use you guys,
MLS Touch.
okay, so MLS Touch, we have it here in Maryland, and MLS Touch does not have a consumer side. If you guys have a consumer side in Nevada, I would be shocked, but ours does not have consumer side. For those of you that may still have, what was our old one, Charles? We had one up to a couple of months ago. I forgot what it was. That one had a consumer side to it. So the difference between the MLS Touch is it's more for agents to where your consumer app in Command is for the consumer. So again, inside of Command, if you go into designs, you can go in and you can create a MLS client for consumer. Is that part of MLS Touch? Oh, interesting. Didn't know that. See, my MLS doesn't like us. They never told us that. All my people have been whining about losing the client side. So, all right, I'll look into it. See, told you, learn something new every day. Love it. Thank you. If you go into designs inside of Command and go into print material, there are buyer guides and seller guides. You can go in and you can build these out. Well, they're already built out. They're like 30 some pages long. You get to pick what you want to do. They're completely 100% editable, that you can put your story in there. You can put your bio in there, your picture. You can delete what you don't want and what doesn't fit you and what does fit you. It's all right there. And then when you're done, you can either request it to be printed out, high quality. You can send it out directly through Command to get it printed. You can download it and send it to a printer, or you can just print it out yourself at home on your own paper and present it that way. Whatever. You can turn it into a slide presentation. By the way, with that said, how many of you obviously we're okay with Zoom, right? Because we're on it tonight, right? So how many of you are really good with Zoom because you guys can do buyer consultations inside of Zoom? So what if you took your buyer consultation and put it into a Zoom presentation, because you might set more appointments that way? Because what's the number one thing that prevents somebody from meeting with you?
Time and availability.
Time and availability. That's it. Look, I got kids, I got softball, I got basketball, I got baseball, whatever that may be. Hey, I tell you what, you got time to jump on a Zoom? Can you give me like 45 minutes and I'll go over the buying process with you? And if you like what I have to say, we'll set another appointment and hopefully we can do it on a Saturday or Sunday that's more convenient for you. Hey, how about, where's your kid's game at? Do you mind if I come to the game and watch? Love youth sports. It's awesome to watch these kids play. How old are they? What are they playing? I'll come sit down and talk to you right there. That way I don't take any time away from your kids. You might not have their full attention, yet it's still an opportunity to meet with. So as I said, inside of designs, everything you need is in that buyer guide right there. Get in, and play with it. So thoughts, comments, questions. I love that. Practice Zoom with your friends and family. Set Zoom appointments going there. By the way, you can actually connect DocuSign to Zoom, and you can actually get documents signed right there on the Zoom call. So how many of you would be interested in a Zoom training? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. You guys just made me think of. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do something really. Hey, Charles, I got an idea.
Oh God.
All right, I just put my email in the chat. Grab it, keep it. Everybody who wants Zoom training, email me. Everybody email me. Or text me. I'll put my number in there too. And I will work on doing something and getting something put together for everybody, and I'll make sure to offer it to the East Coast when I teach Thursday, because I'm doing a doubleheader on Thursday. So thoughts, comments about everything we just went over. Save my information. Aardvark Pee Wee Ellerberry Jr. is my name. That's what I go by, because I'm hiding from the government. No, I'm kidding. I can even do this if I wanted to, but I'll do that in a minute. I'll do that just before the end. All right, so let's get into conducting the buyer consultation. This is kind of short because all of you are going to have to design your own process of doing this. What I'm going to cover with you when you're conducting the buyer consultation is some of the basics and what you should be doing on a general basis. First, you got to get yourself psyched up. Who's doing affirmations, positive affirmations? Let me clarify. Positive affirmations. Just one, just Cindy. How I see you, Cindy. Keep your positivity up when you go into any consultation, whether it be a buyer or a seller, because you know how a dog can smell fear? The consumer can smell it on you. Go in with that positive energy and you're ready to go. Okay. I'm knowledgeable and caring and the best agent for these clients. They will appreciate my expertise and preparation and choose me to represent them as they buy a home. Your mindset is going to be everything when you go into a buyer consultation. Everything else that we talked about back here is going to be your buyer presentation. As you put this together and you design your buyer book and what that looks like and your comps, and we're not going to do comps with buyers, but you might do a few just to show what neighborhoods are selling for. You're going to do more comps with the sellers, but it doesn't hurt to show, here's what you told me about the community you're looking for. Like, let's say they gave you 2 or 3 neighborhoods that they're interested in. You can go, look, the average home has been selling the past 3 to 6 months at this price point. How comfortable are you with that price point? Oh, I don't know if I like that price point. You got to talk to the mortgage lender, right? So if you go into it knowledgeable, as this statement says, if you go into it knowledgeable and ready to go and you have all your information together, you're going to be just fine. You're going to be just fine. Okay. Getting the agreement signed. This is probably one of the biggest things that you all are going to be challenged with. I'm going to go back to the very beginning of this class where I was talking about it is, I can go back to the last page. Which last page? This last page? Is that the one you want? Getting the agreement signed is going to be your biggest challenge. And it's the biggest challenge more so now than it's been before because of the NAR settlements. So, back here to some of this stuff. There's a couple of them in here if you want. If you guys go into designs inside of Command, you'll see all of this. This is all pretty much directly from there. So just open designs, say create a new design, and then hit print material, and then go right into buyer, and you'll be able to pick. There's various versions. What's that one slide? If you look here on the computer screen where it says Neighborhood Insights, you see different colors in there. You got black and white color schemes, red and white color schemes, red and black color schemes. You've got so many different variations of this buyer guide that you can create, and you can mix and match. So just go in there and play with it. Getting the agreement signed is going to be your number one challenge, mainly because of where we are in the settlements right now. Is buyers are hesitant because they have to sign something in order to see the property. It's just it is what it is. There's nothing we're going to do about that. So it's going to come down to, like I said in the beginning, about it's more about how we say things versus what we say, right? I can't walk up to Jamie and go, "Hey, you have to sign this buyer agreement." Period in the story. You just have to do it. That's not going to work for her. But if I go up and I go, "Look, how familiar are you with, or what is your experience with? What do you understand about the settlement aspect?" Okay, great. I legally am unable to let you in this home oh, that's not good. Contact me later, Yvonne. Like tomorrow, not tonight. It's 11 o'clock my time, just so you know, because I am on the East Coast. For me to let you in this house, we have to be in an agreement. Now, understand, this agreement can just be for this one house. This agreement could be for the week. It could be for today. How do you want to proceed? Because with the new rules and the new laws that are coming out, I have to do this. So how comfortable are you with it? And then let them decide what they want to do. So how did that transparency in that aspect, it's going to be it. If you do everything we talked about ahead of time, and more importantly, you hold a true 100% buyer consultation and have that open, transparent conversation with people, you're going to get people to sign buyer agreements every time. By the way, did you know 100% of my buyers sign my buyer agreement? What does that mean? Oh, yeah. You seeing my trickery in there, Cindy? I saw your face. Right? 100% of my buyer clients sign my buyer agreement. You know why? Because they can't be a client unless they sign it. So I'm not lying to them. I'm telling them the truth. 100% of my buyer clients sign my buyer agreement. So get them to sign the buyer agreement. How are they going to feel if I tell them that? Really? Everybody signs? Everybody signs. I don't tell them if they don't sign, they hit the road, but that's a whole nother. So. All right. Surveys. I emailed everybody last 2 weeks ago when I did one. If you guys don't mind scanning this QR code or going to kwueval.com and filling out the surveys. This is a virtual event, obviously. I am your instructor, Matt Verdon. There are 2 Matts in the list when you go down the instructor list. I'm the better looking of the 2 of us. We might be up to 3 Matts now. I'm trying to remember. Do we have a 3rd Matt now? We might have 3 of us. I'm still the better looking one out of all of them. The course is Ignite Session 14, Win the Buyer. If you all would please provide some feedback that goes directly to KWU. If it's bad, they will call me and tell me that I can't teach anymore and I'm, all that other stuff. So if it's not bad, they call me and say, "Yay, good job. You're going to stick around a while longer." So share some while you guys, I'm going to leave that up for those that haven't gotten the eval address or scan that. If you're scanning it, I'm going to leave it up for a minute. But in the meantime,
Did you put it up? I don't see anything.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. There you go. I told you I got 6 screens. Appreciate you. Keep me honest. See, on one screen it's up, on another screen it's not. So I apologize. I'll leave this up for a minute while you guys grab this. And a few of you, give me some ahas from tonight. What are some of your takeaways? What are something that was new, exciting, impressive, or whatever comes to your mind?
For me, this is Yvonne. I think it's going, asking additional questions and going like 3 layers deep.
That's it. That 3 layers deep is really, really, really powerful because, again, think about yourself, right? I was getting ready to say, all right, ladies, let's be honest, but us guys are just as guilty. Okay, I'm going to be honest. What's wrong with you? Nothing. I know that's not the right answer. You know that's not the right answer. And if you let it go at that, are we getting anywhere? No. I noticed that she didn't seem whatever, right? I'm going to ask more questions. You can use this in your personal life, your professional life, in every aspect. Ask more questions. Make sure you ask them the right way, though. That's the big thing. Again, how we do it versus what we do, right? I can say anything I want to say. Okay. I can't say anything I want to say. I have to be very mindful. Like I said, I got almost 20 years in the fire service. It does not come out the way it should sometimes. My leadership team has told me multiple times, you can't do that. So I did. It's okay. I survived. But when we're dealing with our clients, we got to make sure we're treating them the way that they want to be treated. And we're asking the questions in a way that it's not off-putting or anything like that. So all jokes aside, we got to make sure we're doing it the right way. Who else? Who else got a nice aha or takeaway they want to share?
I'll go. So this is Alan Gerben. This is my first Ignite session. I haven't even signed into Command or done any of that stuff yet. And I honestly really wasn't sure how the Keller Williams training was going to go. But I have to say that you have been a great trainer. And if all the sessions are as good as this, I'm really looking forward to going back and reviewing all of them. Not only that, but I mean, we're here at the end of a 2-hour class, and I know that I'm going to go back and rewatch this lesson and write more stuff down about things that I need to do. So I'm very satisfied so far with how this is going.
Alan, I am very appreciative of that. I'm very excited to hear you say that. And I look forward to you going back and reviewing all the videos from previous sessions and digging into it. Just for your information, Ignite is technically like 40 hours. When we do this after dark type situation, we really cut it down and we're jamming a lot of information into a short period of time. So knowing that you've gotten something like that it makes it all worthwhile. So I appreciate it. So who else has got a one more aha, one more takeaway? Yes, you can connect DocuSign to. Did you go look it up while you were on here? It's in the app section. Yes, you can connect DocuSign to Zoom. I like that. Game changer. Yes, it can be. I have not used it yet. I'll be completely transparent. I've not used it yet. Yet I'm like, I got to make that transition. And as I build a team out, we're going to start using it. So who else got an aha? Give me one more before we go. You're welcome, Ben. But that's not an aha. Just kidding. One more before we go. I need one more. Nobody? All right, fine. It's late. I give. You win. I'll just guilt you all Thursday when I come back Thursday. I'm
All
doing
right, I'll give you one just so you feel happy.
All right. Thank you,
When
Brian.
selecting a time, give them 2 choices. Don't leave it wide open.
Yep. Don't leave it up to them. Thank you. Don't leave it up to them. So, all right, guys, it is our time. We're like 2 minutes before. So, have a great night. I will see everybody on Thursday. For those in your office that have signed up that are not here tonight or have not been here, reach out to your peers and let them know that they're missing out on some opportunities, and bring them tomorrow and bring them on Thursday and bring them the rest of the time as well. Until Thursday, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you. Thank you and have a great night.
Thanks, Matt.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Matt.